You're listening to Gaming Buzz, your source for information and entertaining discussions about video games for video game enthusiasts. With your hosts, Jacob, Darien, and Christian, all huge nerds who can never have too many games. Now, let's get this started.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Gaming Buzz. My name is Jacob and I'm here with Darien.
Hello.
And Christian.
Hi.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty fantastic.
For myself, I'm, pretty energetic today. Feel awesome. Buffed. I'm not buffed. I'm just kidding about buffed.
Yeah, you're pretty flabby.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm glad you said you're really energetic today because we've got an exciting topic.
First-person shooters?
No, we already did that.
Oh.
We are continuing our discussion on different video game genres. This week we are going to be covering 3D platformers.
Ooh.
Oh, man, my second favorite genre.
After 2D platformers?
Yes, we go to the third dimension.
I have a lot of gripes about this one.
Why are you always Mr. Negative? We should just do racing games to make you happy. So, when we're talking about 3D platformers, we're referring to games that are in the 3 dimensions.
Ooh.
And you jump around and collect things a lot.
The Collectathon 3D platformers.
Mini collectathon games are a part of the 3D platformer genre, yep.
It's kind of sad seeing those kind of diminish lately. Like, you don't see those as much.
Well, the genre of choice for the late 80s to early 1990s was 2D platformers. The genre of choice for the mid-90s to the mid-2000s was 3D platformers. And now, the most common genre to see is first-person shooters. Makes you wonder what the next genre will be.
VR, at this point.
First-person adventure games. Ooh.
Actually, I think I know what it is. In the last year or two, we've seen a trend of one particular genre overtaking them all.
Crap simulators.
Crap simulators. Exactly. Darian.
Well, what's funny is there's literally a simulator that's like poop simulator, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Simulator. It simulates simulators.
I'm sorry. That's not the correct title. It's Simulator 2016.
Ooh. I don't want to see that. Please don't do it, any developers.
Someone's probably already working on it.
Not going to doubt that.
Well, why don't we get started with our discussion? Like we've done the past couple episodes, we're going to start in the beginning.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about our first ever experiences with a 3D platformer. Why don't we start with you, Christian?
Oh, the best person to start with, yes, me, which is true. I started with 3D platforming with Pac-Man World 20th anniversary.
Ooh, that's a really good game.
Yep.
It's interesting because it's a 3D platformer on the PlayStation 1, but a lot of the art assets are actually still 2D, but done in a style to make them look 3D.
That is true. And, the best part about that game is you could call it a 3D platformer with puzzle elements, which is Pac-Man's thing.
And I find it kind of funny because it actually comes from a genre that was not platforming, which is very interesting because it went from a maze game to 3D platformer.
It's weird because the original Pac-Man really doesn't have a genre.
No.
It's just Pac-Man.
Well, you can just call it arcade.
I guess that's the best way to put it, but arcade can be so vague.
I know, you have arcade racers, arcade fighting, everything.
Arcade, space shooters.
What about this? Pac-Man is an eating simulator.
2016.
That would be 84. I don't remember what year it is. I know that it was big in the 80s. Pac-Man Fever.
Which is also a video game.
Everybody and their mother were playing it.
So who introduced you to Pac-Man World, Christian?
My father.
There's a surprise. Seems like all of your early gaming memories come from him.
Yep. He bought me a PS1 for my 7th birthday with a bunch of games. It was like a PlayStation 1 bundle, and one of them was Pac-Man World.
Man, dude, you got a PS1 for your 7th birthday?
Yeah.
I got socks.
Congratulations, man.
I don't even remember what I got. I think I got a stupid remote control car that broke.
So Christian was the spoiled kid of the bunch.
Hey, not to mention, I also got 2 boxes of Legos like the 200 Lego packs.
Oh man.
So technically, I got 400 Legos.
I am a grown adult, and I still love playing with Legos.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
doesn't?
I have like probably close to 1,000 Legos and I still mess with them.
They're just so addicting. I believe we were talking about 3D platformers.
Oh, you can design 3D platformers with them. Oh.
Are there any 3D platformers in the that are made with Legos? Like the Lego Star Wars games? Those are 3D platformers. Oh, snap, brand synergy.
That's great.
So what was your first memory of playing a 3D platformer, Darien?
I remember playing Super Mario 64 years ago. I don't even remember how old I was. I think I was like 4 or 5. I know I was kindergarten or so, and I went to a kid's birthday party, and we all played Super Mario 64, and that's all I remember. But it was actually pretty fun because everybody was believing that there was some really crazy things that were hidden deep in the code, that like special areas that don't even exist in the code, and we'd all try to like go out of bounds and do that kind of crap. But that's pretty much all I really remember.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because my first experience with a 3D platformer was Super Mario 64. It was a pretty common game. I mean, being one of the first in the genre, that makes sense. But I played it on the N64, which was one of my first home video game consoles I ever got to play, and I played it for hours. I remember, just like every other kid in that decade, I was obsessed with finding secrets. But the secret I was hunting for was even more important than secret areas. I was looking for Luigi. Where was Luigi?
Non-existent.
It still bums me out that he was not actually in the game. Why didn't they put him in? Why?
It was hardware constraints.
But they could have at least put him in as an Easter egg. Even just like a recolored Mario, just like, hey, I'm Luigi.
Instead, we had Yoshi hanging out on the roof. Like, dude.
See, the game's called Super Mario 64. And there's no brothers or anything.
Oh, they really, really cut him out of that deal, huh?
Maybe Luigi was on vacation.
In Delfino Plaza? Because he's not in that game either.
Wow, they really cut him loose. Well, he had Luigi's Mansion, so
Maybe he just takes holidays at separate times from Mario.
on his mansions that are haunted.
Super Mario 64, for its time, was an amazing game. And the fact that it came out in 1996 was really, really impressive. There was nothing else like it coming out at that time.
It was pretty much the first of its kind, and I would probably say it invented the genre.
I think it was a huge step forward, not only for the 3D platformer genre, but 3D gaming in its entirety.
I still think it has one of the best camera systems to this day for a 3D platformer.
When was the last time you played it?
A couple of weeks ago. And actually don't have any gripes about the camera.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I've played it recently, and I think it's actually aged really poorly.
Well, then again, I play a lot of games where the camera goes really into bad places, and I'm just used to getting myself out of those situations, so I don't even notice it.
You know, you have games like Ocarina of Time or the Crash games from that era that have aged flawlessly and are just as good now as they are then. Then you have games that have aged absolutely horribly. Like, I'd even argue the original Metal Gear Solid, even though I love it. It hasn't aged that well, especially in the graphics department.
Looks like a bunch of weird blocks talking to each other.
I'd say the original Tomb Raider games have not aged that well either. Mario 64 is some weird, awkward middle position between those two.
Mario's made of clumps in that game.
It's somehow timeless and will always be fun, but it's also incredibly aged and feels really primitive. It's weird.
See, that's why you play the DS remake.
But that version has its own faults. Like, playing a 3D game with a D-pad just sucks.
Well, lucky for you, you got a 3DS and you can play it with the circle pad.
But that still does digital input, so it's not as accurate still.
But it is better.
Yeah, but I actually prefer playing with the D-pad, actually.
So what do you guys like about the 3D platformer genre?
What I really like about them are the 3D dimension itself. You know how Mario is 2D and then they made it into 3D? Like, for example, my favorite example is Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. And some of how the levels are laid out, you can really like speed run the game because the game's supposed to feel like a 2D Mario game, but yet it's 3D. So you can pull off some nifty stuff. Like one of the levels, you can just like jump, run, jump, and flutter with the Tanuki suit and get to the flag in 7 seconds instead of going through the whole level.
Adding another dimension really increases the possibilities in platformers. There are just so many things you can do.
Another thing you can do in that game, just throwing that out there, the Bowser fights, you fight on the bridge, but you can also just walk on the edge of the bridge and then just cheese them like that and just avoid them completely.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool possibility with 3D platformers is you can take a lot of extra ways out of getting out of danger or trying to get into secrets, and it really adds more discovery to the game.
Another thing, and this might sound like a bad thing at first, but due to their nature, it's really easy to break 3D platformers and glitch them out.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a bad thing, but it's great for speed running, and it's great for just having fun. A great example would be Sonic 06. There are so many different ways to break that game and do crazy things in it that people really like to do that.
Yeah, that game has a really funny glitch in it that I just want to bring up is you stand on top of a crate and you do like this weird kind of, I don't know what to call it. It's like a low kick or whatever. If you do that, you can go and fly out of the entire area. It's really funny.
Or Sonic Boom pre-patch, you can just do the Knuckles glitch.
I can't believe they got rid of the Knuckles glitch. It made the game. Plus, it's canon. In the cartoon, they acknowledge that it exists.
That's great, actually. They had pretty good writers on that show.
But this is not show buzz.
This is not Saturday morning cartoons buzz.
This isn't Sonic Club. A really cool thing that I like to bring up, this sounds really cheesy, but I really like the 3D environment factor of 3D platformers because, well, I typically just like games with 3D models and 3D assets in them because I'm a fan of hardware, so you can kind of see how detailed the world looks depends on how good the hardware is. So you can tell this is a PS1 game, this is a PS3 game, this is a PS4 game, or whatever you want to call it. And that's one of my favorite things about the 3D platformers because it is actually 3D.
One thing I really like is a lot of 3D platformers tend to have really varied environments and a lot of different unique locations you can go to, whereas you didn't really see that as much in, say, 2D platformers. 2D platformers normally Happy World, Ice World, Fire World, Dungeon World, blah, 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 Casino World, boss. You know what I mean? It was always the same old, same old. But with 3D, you had so many different possibilities.
Yeah, with 3D, it's kind of awkward to repeat assets all over the place because most 2D platformers are made with tiles, so it's kind of cool.
So, like Jacob was saying, so for example, Sonic Adventure on the Sega Dreamcast, you got the forest, it's Amplified Forest, you got the snow world, you still got all those generic worlds. However, they're very detailed and there's different ways you can go. Instead of going in a straight line, you can just take a hard right and then you just maybe took a shortcut to the end of the level.
I really like 3D platformers. Definitely one of my favorite genres. Now, something we did bring up a little bit is how they're not as popular as they used to be. It was definitely the genre of the late 90s and the early 2000s. But right when the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation hit, they kind of lost out on popularity to other genres, especially open world games and first-person shooters.
Most definitely.
However, in the past year, we've began to see a resurgence in the 3D platformer genre, just like we saw a few years ago with the 2D platformer genre, with several games coming out through Kickstarter that have caused a lot of buzz. Two of the ones that come to mind are Yooka-Laylee, the spiritual successor to the Banjo-Kazooie series, which is one of the best examples of a 3D platformer done right, and I know I'm really excited for that game. And then another one is a game called A Hat in Time, which is also a very nice, stylized 3D platformer.
Yeah, I believe I saw Hat in Time actually really early on development, and it looked pretty nice back when I saw the old stuff.
I'm definitely excited for when those two games come out because, well, they're 3D platformers and they're done by really good teams, and they actually have a lot of heart put into them.
So I'm actually very excited for Ukulele, and I looked at the footage and then I compared it to Banjo-Kazooie. I'm like, it's pretty much the exact carbon copy, but like very modernized way. Obviously because it's new technology, but just looking at in the 3D platforming world in HD, Banjo-Kazooie style, just makes me very happy.
It looks buttery smooth.
Exactly.
I'm definitely excited for those two games in particular. But enough of this being happy stuff. Why don't we talk about some things in 3D platformers that really grind our gears?
Everything.
What do you got, Christian?
Bad level design. Sometimes people don't make the levels as good as you would think.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Not only can the level design be bad, but due to the fact that they're fully 3D games, you get a lot of clipping issues where you just fall through things in games that weren't designed really well or just have bugs. One of the best examples is Sonic Adventure. Pretty much any wall, you can get through it somehow. And there are plenty of occasions where you're just like running in that game, or maybe you go over a loop and you're just like, boop, I fell through.
Yep. Or another level design thing that I like to gripe about. This is a bit about any platformer, but especially the 3D genre, is jumps that are just as long as your jump. So like there's a gap and you have to know exactly when to jump, how much momentum, and you have to try to get over that gap. That's one of the gripes I see in a lot of 3D platformers.
Jumping in 3D platformers can be a little awkward.
Oh yeah, like the judgment, like being able to judge your jumps. Like some games, like Conker's Bad Fur Day is a really good candidate for having a bad judgment system. The shadows are all really realistic, so when you jump around, your shadow goes elsewhere. I think that 3D platformers should stick around with the shadow below your character, so at least when you're jumping through the air, you can see where the shadow's going to land, so you know where you're going to land.
One huge gripe I have with the 3D platformer genre, and this will make or break a game, is the camera. Some games have excellent cameras. Some games have horrible camera systems. As much as I love Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, I know that they're not that great, and the camera control is a big part of that. And I've seen people who haven't grown up with them like I had play them, and they're like, God, these are terrible. I'm like, I know, but I love them.
Yeah, I think that the best way to make a camera for these games is to have an auto camera. Like the Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World, they actually don't let you have any control over the camera. It just pans where it wants you to look.
Yeah, I'd say you either have to do a fully game-controlled camera like that, or a fully player-controlled camera that's smooth, that you have a lot of freedom with what you can do with it. But it's those awkward middle grounds that cause problems. Now, guys, now that we've gotten a little bit of steam off from talking about what we don't like, why don't we talk about our favorite game in the genre? And this time, I think we'll start with you, Darien.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
I know, I just like Darien better than you. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
But Darien, don't let that sound like it's a compliment to you. I don't like you either. I just like him less.
Okay. My favorite game from this genre is Ratchet and Clank on the PS2, and it was re-released on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, which I personally have the PlayStation Vita version at my disposal. But I really enjoy those games. The humor is where it's at, and they're also releasing a reimagining on the PS4, which I'm super excited about.
Ratchet and Clank, if there's one series of strictly 3D platformer games that has always been about quality and have always been fun, it's Ratchet and Clank.
One gripe I have about the game is its camera speed, even though you can kind of tweak around with it, but it's camera speed and it's really robotic feeling, and it
does get better in later games, though.
It does. The first one was like they were dipping their toe in the water with the first one, but as the series goes on, it gets even funnier and the controls get way better.
I am definitely a huge Ratchet and Clank fan. And in fact, by the time this episode goes out, I will probably be in the movie theaters watching the Ratchet and Clank film. I'm super excited for that.
That might be one of the first movies I go to the theater for in years. Well, not years, but months. It seems like it's years, but I don't go to the movies too much.
My favorite game in the genre, it absolutely has to be one of the most broken games of the genre. I mean, I mentioned I like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and both of them are broken messes, but they don't even come close to the broken mess that is Super Mario Sunshine.
It looks nice.
It's beautiful. The game is just, it radiates happy. Nintendo was just in this happy period at that time because it came out right around the same time as Wind Waker. And both games, you cannot play them and not just smile.
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're like, mad. And then all of a sudden you pop in the game, you're like, now I'm happy for like no reason.
Super Mario Sunshine was the first Mario game to have a serious physics engine. And that kind of shows because the game's pretty broken.
That water pressure, though.
Oh, there are certain areas where you're just like, physics would never work like this.
Wait, didn't the game have voice acting it too?
Yes, it's one of the only Mario games to have full voice acting. And you know what? It's really good, and I wish they'd do it again. There are so many things in Super Mario Sunshine I wish they'd do again.
It makes you wonder why they're not doing full voice acting again, because, like Super Mario Galaxy, also good 3D platformer, it only has like 3 or 4 or 5 lines of like talking.
All right, I'm going to have to fight with you, bro. Are you ready for something? And this might get me kicked out of the gaming community. I hate Super Mario Galaxy.
It's okay.
I hate Super Mario Galaxy, and I hate Super Mario Galaxy 2.
No, I like 2 the best more than 1, though.
Here's why. I find them too linear.
Yeah.
And I hate the power-ups.
But wait a second. Aren't Mario games linear anyway?
The 2D ones are, but the 3D ones, in my opinion, shouldn't be. The reasons why I love Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine are because you can take a level and there can be 10 different stars in that level you're going to have to find and figure out secrets for. But because there are linear challenges in Super Mario Galaxy, first of all, secrets pretty much don't exist, and they're just not as fun. You don't feel like you're discovering something or accomplishing something. You feel like you're just going on the train tracks that Nintendo created for you.
Yeah, and taking your binoculars out and being like, where is this? I expect this to be here, instead of being like, oh, I found this.
I guess, they're competent games and the controls are nice and everything.
The music's good.
Oh, the music is fantastic. But you lose that feeling of adventure and exploration that the 3D Mario games were working so hard at getting. But I guess because Super Mario Sunshine wasn't received that well by critics, they kind of stopped innovating in the genre, and it makes me really sad. I don't like Super Mario 3D World for the same reason. I want another big, open 3D platformer Mario game.
Do like a Legend of Zelda Wii U with Mario.
Hey, maybe for the 35th anniversary.
It actually really makes me sad because I love Super Mario 64 and I love Super Mario Sunshine, and I've been dying since I first played Super Mario Sunshine in 2002 for a sequel, and it's been 14 years, and I haven't seen it. I don't care if they put it on the freaking 3DS. It would be better than Metroid Prime Federation Force.
Oh my God, don't get me started.
Yeah, let's not rant anymore. Okay, Super Mario Sunshine. The game's fun, it's frustrating, it's broken, and every single glitch in the game is hilarious. And that's part of its charm. But it also has a pretty decent story, great visuals, and really fun gameplay. People who review the game nowadays generally say, oh, the sections without FLUDD are the best. They're just straight platforming challenges. No, I find those to be the most frustrating, irritating things ever. But when you go through and you just explore the world and spray water everywhere and get to use your freaking rocket, it's great.
See, the sections without FLUDD, they're hard because in the whole game you're used to playing with FLUDD, and then when they strip the FLUDD device away from you, it becomes harder.
They're also hard because the physics engine's just stupid. There are so many sections where I'm just like standing still on a platform that's moving, and it's like, nope, you fall through this. Darien, have you played through Super Mario Sunshine?
I have barely touched that game. All I remember is the beginning and it feeling kind of like Super Mario 64 with enhanced physics, but
I'm going to lend you my copy. You're in for a treat, bro.
man, I got to have something to touch my GameCube again because I haven't played that for close to 4 or 5 months.
That's a sin. That is a straight sin on Gaming Buzz. The GameCube must be loved. All hail GameCube. All hail GameCube. All hail GameCube. All hail GameCube.
Well, I have a PS4 that I worry about more right now.
The GameCube's the best system ever made. You must show it respect.
It's good, not the best.
Oh, them's fighting words. I will fight you over this, bro.
Next episode.
Next episode, we are going hard, dude.
Got to be on video so you can actually see the fist fight.
All right, Christian, what's your favorite 3D platformer?
Crash Twinsanity, which is not made by Naughty Dog. It's made by Universal Studios.
I was just going to ask. That's a later one in the series, not made by Naughty Dog, huh?
If you're doing the timeline, it's technically the 5th game in story-wise, how it continues.
Oh, because I bet we're all so entranced by the story in Crash Bandicoot.
Well, it's hilarious.
You have a big-headed man that looks mad all the time.
I don't think anyone really cares about the story of the Crash games. It's all about that gameplay.
Oh, yep. Twinsanity brings the gameplay of Cortex and Crash. That's why it's called Twinsanity, because it's insane how you play as Crash, but you also have Cortex, and you can throw Cortex around. Like, you can throw him inside a totem thing, and it eats him, and then it gets spit out, and then you deal damage that way. You can use Cortex as a hammer. You can spin with Cortex. You can throw him to pits. What else you can do with Cortex?
Sounds like he got the short end of the stick.
But he don't get me wrong. He gets his own levels too. He runs around with his little ray gun, and if he's out of ammo, he just runs like a wuss.
Pew pew.
Yep. But it's an open world Crash Bandicoot game actually, which all the levels are connected. There's no loading. Well, besides the cutscenes, but that's the only loading you're gonna get. It's different from Universal Studios. Did a good job making that game. The writing's okay. The levels are awesome because everything's just connected. And it works for that game.
Sounds pretty interesting.
And there's also platforms.
Ooh, platforms.
Platforms are always a good thing to have in a platformer.
That's where it gets its name.
And there's, you can play as 3 different characters in that game. So you got Crash, Neo Cortex, and Nina Cortex, which there's like two times you play as her.
Now that we've talked about our favorite games in the genre, why don't we go over some other games we recommend?
All of the 3D Mario games.
Like I said, I do not recommend Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 3D World. If you guys want to recommend them, go ahead.
What's just easier saying in generic Mario.
I never played Galaxy 1 or 2.
Christian.
Yes?
Do you like Galaxy?
Oh, I like Galaxy 2 more than 1 though. It's much more polished.
You mean Super Mario Galaxy DLC on a disc?
It's its own thing, man.
Let's be honest, it's really just a level pack.
Pretty much. A game that I really recommend is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, Conker's Bad Fur Day is in my top 3 games of all time, and you guys know that.
Yeah.
There isn't a week that goes by without me talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day. I own both Conker's Bad Fur Day on the N64, which is not cheap.
You're welcome.
It was actually a Christmas present from Christian. And I own Conker Live and Reloaded, the Xbox remake, which is better in some areas and worse in others.
They censored it more on Xbox.
That is true, which is weird because the Nintendo console has less censorship.
They censored the F word, and I think that's it. And then Microsoft was like, "Oh yeah, can't say the other word for poo."
Also, the multiplayer mode is much better in the original.
Oh yeah,
you've got lots of crazy modes to play. I still love playing it to this day, guys. Let's just stop the episode and go play some Conker's Bad Fur Day together.
I want to play the story. It's hilarious.
All of it's hilarious.
I know, it's great.
I mean, games where you get to play as a dinosaur eating cavemen always get a plus from me.
Well, you don't really play as a dinosaur. You like drag him through the level, and then he becomes a sacrifice.
In the multiplayer, you get to play as the dinosaur.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. I always think about the single player.
Right. I like the single player, but it's the multiplayer that I spent the most time with.
Yeah, Rare was really good at making multiplayer back in the day on the N64.
They were. Now they're really good at making Kinect games, apparently.
But their Kinect games aren't really that good. Like, they're the best programmed ones, but that doesn't mean that the Kinect is any fun, really.
You know, speaking of Rare, their other 3D platformer series.
007. Oh, wait.
No, that's a first-person shooter. That was last episode. Banjo-Kazooie. Why are they so good? I'm talking about Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, not Nuts and Bolts.
Well, nuts and bolts, never mind.
I
don't have an argument.
The world's too big to have enjoyable platforming in it, but it's a solid game. But yeah, definitely the N64 versions are the pinnacle of the series.
You know, not to sidetrack the conversation even more, but I feel like Nuts and Bolts would be a decent game if it wasn't tied to the Banjo series, because it's kind of spitting in the face of its fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you played the intro, it's not spoilers. Who cares anyway? When you come in, one of the characters is like, "Oh, you mean that?" He says like, "Oh, you were like friends with that fat Italian plumber from that other console or something like that," and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah, I'm tired of modern Rare kind of spitting in our faces by like ruining Conquer. Ew! Did you see that VR thing?
We don't talk about that. Let's just praise Rare Replay for being a decent decision.
Yeah, and then they had to destroy Conquer. I have nightmares.
There's one thing though, it may be they may be destroy Conquer, but it's a good concept though. I like the concept. I just don't like that Conquer's there.
Once again, just like Nuts and Bolts.
Yes.
You know, one series that I cannot recommend enough, and a lot of people really are turned off by this series for whatever reason, but the Sly Cooper series is one of the best series of 3D platformers ever.
It's so different.
It's different. It's got a super unique art style. And most importantly, it has stealth elements.
Ooh.
And if you know me, I love stealth in video games.
I'm bad at those sections.
Sly Cooper does it in a really unique way because stealth is not hard in Sly Cooper. Unlike so many other titles, Hitman or Metal Gear Solid, stealth isn't hard. It's super easy to do. But it's also like not as important as you think. But it gets to the point where it's just autopilot. You just stealth around things and it works and it's really fun. If you're looking to play some Sly Cooper, the one I would most recommend right now would be Thieves in Time, the newest game in the series, which came out after a 8-year break in the series.
What consoles are it on?
It's on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita.
Sounds like I'll be picking something up for my Vita.
Oh, it's good, dude. The cool thing is if you get the PS3 version, it's cross-buy, so you'll also get the Vita version. That's how I have it on my Vita.
Great.
And it's not that expensive. You can get a new copy for under $20.
I know you can get it I've seen it at Walmart for $15.
They also have the Sly Cooper collection, which is 1, 2, and 3 on the PS3. I'd recommend that as well.
I have that, but I haven't played it. It's in the backlog with Ratchet and Clank collection also.
Christian, why do you put all the good games in the backlog?
Because you told me to play Metal Gear 5. You know how long that's taking?
I said try it. Try it, Christian. Don't let it absorb your life.
Are you farting around with those balloons all day or something?
Who doesn't?
I want that game. I got to get it for PS4 because that just looks like entertainment.
Fulton Extractions. Genius. I mean, I know that's not how they worked in real life, but I wish it was.
Oh, look, there's a tank. Mine.
I wish in an alternate reality, younger me sitting in high school history class watching World War II film footage, and then you just see a guy go, whee!
Bye.
Oh, that would be so wonderful. We are really off topic today.
Hey, let's get back on topic on a great game. Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3.
Crash. never played any of the original Crash games besides Crash Team Racing.
Ooh, racing game.
But wait, that's a racing game.
Yeah, that's the only Crash game on PS1 I've played.
Wait, you can jump with those cars, so you can platform around the tracks.
No.
So therefore, it's a 3D platformer. Darien, up top.
Oh.
All right, but yeah, the Crash games you can get them all on PSN for cheap for $5.99 each. Not hashtag not advertised.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. But yeah, you can get all three and Team Racing if you want to also, and play them on your PSP and PS3.
And PS Vita,
Nope.
but not PS4.
No, you can't play them on the Vita. I tried. It says it's not available for this system, which is weird.
Can't you just take it and use your cord, attach it to the PlayStation 3, and just put it on there with it?
Maybe. I haven't tried that yet, but as far as I know, you can't download it. But
Yeah, you got to do like a hard transfer with consoles, I believe. I had to do that with Burnout. One of the Burnout games, Burnout Legends on PSP to get it on my Vita.
You also have to do that with Metal Gear Solid for the PS1, so I wouldn't be surprised.
you know what? You talked about Crash Team Racing, right? Tag Team, whatever. It also has a demo of a game. Also, Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3, I believe. No, it's 3 and Crash Team Racing have a special demo of Spyro.
Dude, Spyro's amazing. Let me rephrase. Early Spyro is amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, I guess.
I like those games because they designed them to be easy for young children to play, but they're not very forgiving. Like if you die, you have to like start over. But like nowadays, platformers made for kids or directed towards kids, they hold your hand. You fall off a ledge, you don't lose a life. You just spawn right on that ledge you fell off of. And I feel like it's just making young gamers stupid or whiny. Like, I can't beat this game. It's too hard. I want to go back to my mobile phone.
The only Spyro game I really, really played was Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, which I did not find out until years after I played it, because I played it as a kid, that it's one of the like worst rated games in the series, and I still really liked it. So what does that say?
Nostalgia.
Maybe it's that their worst games are still really good compared to other ones.
Oh, I wouldn't say it was really good, but it was okay.
Yeah, like even their flawed stuff is still pretty good.
But 1, 2, and 3 are excellent, and I'd still recommend them. My girlfriend is a really big fan of Spyro, and she gave me a copy of Spyro 3 when she found out I never really played the first 3. All I remember from playing it was that there was a skateboarding mini game where you're just a dragon on a skateboard. And the weird thing was, it was as good physics-wise, if not better, than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
That's hilarious.
I know, and it was bizarre.
Tony Hawk's all like low-key.
A certain type of game that's not as familiar with some people, and that would be the Tasmanian Tiger series.
You really like that series. You've mentioned it to me over and over, trying to get me to play it.
Boomerangs in Australia, mate.
I don't want to offend anybody, but whenever I look at the Thai series, I always get that really weird feeling that it's shovelware. I don't know why, but my instincts tell me this is shovelware.
That's how I felt about it, and I have not played it, so Christian's on his own. Pitch it to us, Christian.
Well, you play as a Tasmanian tiger that throws boomerangs around, and you go after a ostrich, which is it's called Boss Cass. You can technically say his final boss, Boss Cass. Badumsh. However, the series, builds up pretty well, because if you finish the game 100%, you get an ending that goes to the next game. And, I think, to be honest, it's something that you should personally play to have a great experience. It's open world-ish, you gotta go to different places. And there's platforming in the levels also, throw boomerangs, and you can use boomerangs like... There's ice, fire, and you can have something like an explosive boomerang. You can have a boomerang that's like a rope.
Hey, hold on, Christian.
What?
Jacob, we need to have a boomerang counter at the bottom of the screen. How many times?
Boomerang. 27 boomerang. Now 28.
And we have to order that many off of Amazon or something?
No, thank you. We do not have that in our budget.
Talking about boomerangs, there's a boomerang that you can throw like 20 boomerangs at the same time. It's called the infrarang.
Boomerang.
Yee!
Boomerangs are so good. Mario Kart 8 included one, and it was horrible.
Get record.
Boomerang.
Boomerang. I'm going to slip the word boomerang randomly into the description for this episode. So if you guys are listening, look into the description. See if you can find the boomerang.
It'll come right back at you.
And while you're down there, feel free to subscribe if you're on YouTube and give us a nice like. Shameless plug. Go.
And even give us a comment.
Oh, yes. We love comments. We love seeing people subscribe to our YouTube channel. It makes our willies hard.
God damn it.
It just gives us a really nice feeling. You know, it's so wonderful to see that people support our podcast.
And if you comment, I will try to say something back to you guys.
Comment. What you guys should do, comment in the comments just the word boomerang. Show us that you're listening to this point of the podcast, and we will respond, and we'll tell you that you're awesome. Boomerang.
Boomerang.
So now that we've gone over some games that we really like in this genre, why don't we go over some games we don't like and our listeners should avoid?
Can I say first that, to be honest, I haven't played any bad platformer games.
Oh, I have. It's called Sonic games. Oh, and I know I just made a lot of people mad. But Sonic games, let's be honest. 3D Sonic games, some of them are good. And like I said, as horrible as they are, I like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, but they'd probably deserve a spot on this list. Sonic 06 is abysmal. Sonic Unleashed is boring. Sonic Colors is really good. Sonic Generations is short and was really rushed, and its gameplay is kind of weird.
I think, actually, Shadow the Hedgehog is not that good, and I have it.
Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog. It's too edgy for me.
And insert random damn and random hell.
Yes.
And your game becomes edgy all of a sudden.
And random Shadow Young, no, because you fell off because of the horrible camera controls. And the fact that every level is an ice level because of his hover boots.
Oh, and guns.
Oh, guns everywhere. You know,
Motorcycles, cars.
I played the game right when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I was right at that age range that they were trying to get with that game. I'm like, ooh, this game's so good. It's got guns in it.
Oh, they said hell.
Admittedly, the multiplayer in that game, pretty fun. The single player is god-awful, don't get me wrong. The multiplayer is its saving grace.
Oh my gosh, the single player. You gotta play through the first level pretty much every single time. Like, what is it, 32 times or something like that? Just so you can
And
go through all endings?
the memes also that have come from it. My favorite, find the computer room.
Edgy gaming buzz.
So another one I'd like to point out, and this is a complicated story, but there was a 2D platformer series called Zool. Zool was really good. There were 2 games. The second one ended up being canceled, which was sad. The first one was well known on the 3DO and also the Philips CDI and a bunch of other weird systems. It ended up being the mascot character for the Amiga 32X, which is probably the most obscure video game console of the 90s.
But probably one of the best hardware-wise.
A third game was planned for development in the mid-2000s to kind of reinvent the series, but its owners decided to cancel it, and the studio that they had hired to work on it decided to just switch a couple of the images, import some new 3D models, and release it on their own without the publisher. And they released it as a game called Ninja Bread on the Nintendo Wii and the PS2. Ninja Bread is god-awful.
The music.
Ninja Bread is easily the worst game I have ever played. I'm not exaggerating here. Like, I've played some bad games. I've played E.T. I've played Sonic Boom. I cannot even comprehend how bad Ninja Bread is. And the worst part is they're like, oh, this game sold pretty decently. Let's just reskin it and sell it again and again and again and again and again. There are like 7 games that are all just Ninja Bread with different 3D models.
And the music is all the same pretty much.
The music is the same for every one of them. And the stupid thing is this was right in the early days of the Wii. So because of the fact that they just made this game over and over again, they became like the 3rd biggest third-party developer for the Wii ever. Literally the worst game of all time.
That.
And one of our local game stores has like 20 copies of Ninja Bread. And I'm just tempted to buy all of them just to save everyone else from the misery of playing Ninja Bread.
Please, mothers and fathers that don't know nothing about gaming, do not get them for your children.
The worst thing is, like, I don't know all the names of the Ninja Bread clones. So if you see a game that looks like a budget title for the Wii, first of all, why are you buying it? Second of all, make sure it's not a Ninja Bread game.
Yes.
Now that we've gotten through that mini rant, I believe, Darien, you have a confession to make.
Yes. I took my rose-tinted glasses off, and I played Zathura like a month ago. It is horrible. It is so bad.
For the first, 6-7 episodes of Gaming Buzz, you're like, you guys gotta play Zathura, it's so good!
It was so fun being a little kid, but as soon as I started playing it now, I am sorry, all viewers who actually decided to think about buying a copy or thinking that, oh yeah, it's super good. The story is better than the movie, in my opinion, but the gameplay, the animations are really rough. The frame rate, oh my god, don't even get me started. There's parts where there's 4 enemies on screen, and then the frame rate dips down to 5 frames a second, and I'm like, the PS2 can do so much better than this. It's so bad. It's so...
And it's not, it's so bad, good. It's so bad, it's so bad.
It's so bad you should take the disc and cut it in half with a pair of big scissors. There's no redeeming. I am very sorry that I didn't take my rose-tinted glasses off.
Yeah, don't let nostalgia blind you, kids.
Yes.
A bad game is a bad game, no matter how much fun you had with it as a kid.
Ooh, Sonic Heroes on PS2.
Okay, on PS2, that's fine, because the PS2 port is horrible. But on GameCube and Xbox, it's pretty good.
I actually do own GameCube and PS2 versions, and when you're a kid, you don't know the heck is what the heck are frame rates, and you just don't care. I mean, when you get older, you're like, geez.
I never noticed frame rates as a kid.
Now it's one of the biggest things you notice.
Yeah, I played games that ran at a consistent 20 frames per second. I'm like, this looks natural. And now, maybe it's partially due to the fact that I've become a really big PC gamer guy. 30 frames per second looks awkward to me. 35 frames per second looks awkward to me. I need 50 to 60 frames for the game to look natural.
Yeah, I actually feel like that. I don't like playing games at 30 frames, even though it's passable. But 60 frames is definitely where it's at, and anything higher. But if it's 1,000 frames a second, yes, I've played games at that frame rate. I actually get motion sickness. Kind of funny. Another horrible game in the 3D platforming genre is Bubsy 3D.
Oh, Bubsy.
We talked about the 2D ones being horrible.
Now it's time for the 3D one. All right, here's the thing. Yes, Bubsy 3D is one of the worst games ever made. Yes, it deserves that spot. Yes, every copy should be burned.
He's a snarky bobcat.
Yes, I want to stab whoever voiced Bubsy in the throat.
Hi! I can't even do it so bad.
Yes, I want to murder every single person who developed that game. No, I'm not serious. But I understand why it was so bad. It gets slack for 2 reasons.
Why?
1, it was a really, really low budget game. And 2, it came out in 1996. It came out a week after Super Mario 64. At that time, people really didn't know what to do with 3D platforming, so I can understand that. However, the game flat out wasn't finished. And the game's horrible. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Don't play it. But do I think the game deserves all that criticism? Yes, I do. Do I think its developers deserve all that criticism? 90% of it. Not 100%.
Did they actually quality test it to see if it was actually fun, or was it only fun to one person and that was the lead designer that was like, oh yeah, this is really working out for me? You turn him and then you go in a straight line and I guess you kind of jump and then the enemies kind of stand still, or they run in weird paths and they end up killing you. And
there's only one 3D platformer I know of with tank controls that actually plays well, and that's Croc. And I know, Christian, you love you some Croc.
Yes, I do love Croc 1 and 2.
Wasn't it supposed to be a Yoshi game until the company and licensing or whatever?
It was intended as a Yoshi game originally, but they didn't actually get Nintendo's approval for that. They were going to pitch the game to Nintendo, And then Nintendo said no, and they're like, fine then, we'll just finish it and release it with our own character.
But PlayStation.
Fairly popular. Not too big, but fairly popular.
I really like the art style of Croc.
It actually looks like an N64 game, but instead it was on PS1. It's kind of interesting in that way.
So is this in the good game recommendations or not?
That's a good game.
Yep, Croc is definitely a good game.
There we go.
We're backtracking.
I think that's all the games we have to talk about today.
Sonic Lost World.
We've already covered Sonic.
Well, for the PC is good.
But that's like a Super Mario Galaxy clone.
It is, but also slightly unique.
Yeah, it's pretty good in what it does, but
I personally liked the idea because it's completely different from from Generations, Unleashed, and Colors. Because the main developer was like, I want to do something different from so it doesn't go stale.
but they change things up like every time. But they actually went in the right direction this time, maybe.
They did go in the right direction, I'd say sometimes. It's not horrible. Unless you're playing the 3DS version. Screw that.
Ugh.
I mean, it's graphically pretty impressive for the 3DS.
Oh, yeah.
But, jeez, does the 3DS version suck.
Well, it's the first 3D Sonic game on handheld. Congratulations.
All right, now I think that's all the games we have to talk about today. So, we're going to end this episode just like we always do by talking about what game we're playing this week. And I'm going to start this week. And the game I'm talking about, neither one of you can say. I'm playing Rocket League again. I'm sorry. I'm thoroughly addicted. I need help. Rocket League has become my life. And it's weird because like when everyone started playing it, I'm like, I'm just going to play this casually every once in a while. Started playing, I'm like, I am never putting this game down.
I'll have to join you again when I'm finally done with mine.
Team Gaming Buzz, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
What are you playing this week, Darien?
I am playing Senran Kagura Estival Versus on PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 4.
How long have you been waiting for them to come out?
I have been waiting since it came out last year in Japan.
You've literally been counting down the days for the past 2 months so your pre-orders were fulfilled.
Yes.
Every day you're like, hey, dude, only 33 days more.
I'm like, yeah, 30 days. That's a month. In a little few more days, but
You are very excited for boobs.
I actually got into this series because on the eShop, I was like, on the Nintendo 3DS, I was like, ooh, boobs. And then all of a sudden I played the game. I got invested in the characters because they actually have really good backstories. And if you play every single game in the series except for Bon Appetit, that one's just like a fart around game. It's a really, really, really solid series. Even though the first few games have frame rate, like the first game has frame rate issues, and then the Vita version of Estival Versus has some frame rate stuff going on, but it's impressive. It's identical to the PlayStation 4 version, and it's one of the most polished games I've played on the PlayStation Vita.
And what are you playing this week, Christian?
Are you playing Senran Kagura?
Well, what I'm going to be playing this week, I also bought Senran Kagura for the Vita and PS4. I can't play the PS4 yet, but but that's not the game I'm gonna be really playing. I got a mobile game actually on my phone.
Oh, I believe this is the first time we have ever discussed a mobile game in this segment of the show.
Yep, it's called Xenonia S, which is the latest game in the series. It's more of a more server based, so there's actually other people playing, but you can also go in dungeons by yourself. And I like it. And I love it.
That sounds slightly interesting. Not my forte, but
Well, it's an RPG it's a beat 'em up RPG, 2D. You just go around and you find an enemy, kill it, keep going.
does sound pretty interesting.
And there's at least 6 different classes.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. If you're listening to this episode on YouTube, make sure to drop us a comment. And remember, boomerang. And if you'd like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like our page on Facebook. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Not only can you follow our podcast at GamingBuzzPC, but you can also follow each of our hosts here. You can find me I'm at RW Jacob Jones.
Mine's at CD Commentaries, and I have my own YouTube channel. Shameless plug. I occasionally upload like Smash Brothers footage, me kicking my friend's butt, and maybe some me messing around with like Dark Souls or playing other games with my friends.
My Twitter is at Crom Company. It's capital K, lowercase ROM, capital COMPANY.
Visit our sponsors who make this podcast possible by visiting gamingbuzz.com/sponsors. If you like this episode, make sure to share it on Facebook and Twitter or submit a show review. You can do so by visiting gamingbuzz.com/14. Gaming Buzz is a proud member of Newsmakers Podcast Network, an ever-growing network of podcasts covering many business and entertainment news topics. Check them out at npcn.tv. And as always, I'm Jacob.
I'm Darien.
And I'm Christian.
Thanks for listening to Gaming Buzz. New episodes can be found on gamingbuzz.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.